Welcome to the great state of Texas, where a lot of people think of wide open spaces, cattle on the range. But today, this is a different kind of raging bull that you will see from Circuit of the Americas. It's the Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America Championship. And these Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2s about to attack this circuit. Circuit of the Americas opened in 2012. What an entertainment venue it is. Concerts, car shows, go-karts, and more. But really known for state-of-the-art 20-turn, 3.4-mile road course that makes up the heart of this facility. Great passing opportunities in turn 1, turn 11, turn 12, but really throughout the 20 turns here, you've got an opportunity to get something done. But this circuit will bite. It will pitch you off of that raging bull, that Lamborghini that you're driving. We saw it plenty of times yesterday in race number 1 of the weekend. Question is, will we see it more here today in race number 2? It's round 8 of the 2024 North America Championship for Lamborghini Super Trofeo. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Brian Till, and welcome to my home state of Texas. Jeremy Shaw along with me. 4 different classes, Jeremy, in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America Championship, but they all drive the exact same Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2.
Yeah, what a sight that is. You know, not too long ago, the vast majority of the cars seem to be pretty much all black. Not the case anymore. They look absolutely stunning. And to see so many of them all lined up there on the pit straightaway, getting ready for this 8th round of Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America is fantastic.
2 pace laps here, and Jeremy, I talk about the 4 different classes. The cars these drivers pilot are all exactly the same. What denotes the 4 different classes?
Yeah, that's right. Everybody running the same Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2. Well over 600 horsepower for these V10 engines. Don't they sound fantastic leaving the start line? Yeah, so 4 different classes of driver, unusually, not car, driver. It's that we have pros. I mean, they're pretty much self-explanatory. We have pros, we have Pro-Am class, we have an Am class, and we also have an LB Cup, which are drivers who are pretty much new to the sport. And each of these classes is extremely competitive. As we saw during yesterday's race, we had a record 43 cars started yesterday. Unfortunately, due to a few incidents in that first race of the weekend, we lost a few from today. So 4 drivers will not be starting. Those being Michael Staub in car number 48, also Andy Strobert in car number 44, and then Ray Shahi in number 65, and most unfortunately, arguably, is number 02 car of Mark Brummond for TPC Racing. Had a brilliant run going yesterday, was set to win the class on the last lap. It was a 1-lap restart to the end of the race. Unfortunately, got rear-ended by somebody who came from a long, long way behind and caused a lot of damage to that 02 car, so he would not be able to start from the pole position in LB Cup today.
And if you're new to Lamborghini Super Trofeo, whether you're sitting trackside or watching from home, you can tell the different classes by looking at the windscreen on these Lamborghinis. And upper right from the driver's perspective, upper left from your perspective from the outside, you see a triangle in the corner of the windscreen, and it's a different color. It is orange for the Pro category, yellow for Pro-Am. Then the Am category is green, and blue denotes LB Cup. And as Jeremy said, Pro self-explanatory. Pro-Am, you've got a pro driver and an amateur in the car. In the Am category, well, they're all Ams, and LB Cup for the relative newcomers, as we talked about. And Jeremy, 2 pace laps today to get these Hankook tires ready to go. The clock will start at the end of the first pace lap, 50-minute sprint race. There will be a mandatory pit stop in the middle of this race, anywhere from 20 minutes to 30 minutes in, and a little bit different pit stop rules depending on if you're a 1-driver or a 2-driver format.
Yeah, that's right. A little bit of a change of plan here. It's a 50-minute race, but it's a pretty tight schedule here this weekend with the World Endurance Championship here as well, of course, that Circuit of the Americas. So because of that, and the fact that some of these, particularly the lesser experienced drivers, have difficulty building the heat and temperature and pressures into their Hankook tires, also getting their brakes up to optimal working temperatures as well. So gives them an extra pace up to get the cars really, really ready to go racing before they throw the green flag. And yes, We've got about half the cars in this field have solo drivers. He's going to do the entire 50-minute race. The other half, they have two drivers who share the car during this 50-minute race. And to even things out, everybody has to make a mandatory pit stop somewhere between 20 minutes and 30 minutes into the 50-minute race. That pit stop has a minimum pit stop time determined from when they enter the pit lane to the moment they leave it. Not the time stopped in their pit stall, but when they enter and leave. And that minimum pit stop time basically is 86 seconds for the teams that are changing drivers. For solo drivers, the minimum pit stop time is 89 seconds, so 3 seconds more. The reason for that? Well, the driver who's doing the whole race on his own, he knows exactly how the track conditions are, how the car is handling relative to the last time he drove it, whereas the guy who's getting into the car, it's going to take him several corners to figure that out. So that is why there's that discrepancy. And that discrepancy came into stark focus yesterday. Elias De La Torre had a brilliant first opening stint in the car in car number 29, but his pit stop was 3 seconds longer than his rivals because he's driving solo, and he got leapfrogged during that round of pit stops. He was never able to make up that position. Still had a really strong run yesterday, but that's why that rule is in effect. And I think it's a good one, and it encourages probably teams to have two drivers in the car rather than one. Prime example there being Ryan Norman, who will start from the pole position today. Last year he was driving solo, and he found on several occasions he was leading the races but then lost out during the pit stop. So today he has a co-driver, that being Danny Formal, a two-time series champion, and Ryan Norman will start from the pole position today. He was involved, unfortunately, in a bit of an incident yesterday in the closing stages, so slipped back a bit, final lap actually, and slipped back a bit in the results, but looking to make amends today. He will start from the overall pole. Alongside him on the grid will be the Pro-Am pole sitter. That's for 47 Motorsports, the car number 66, Joel Miller, who took the lead in the Pro-Am points yesterday as a result of his second place finish. A little bit farther back down the grid in 11th position overall, car number 69 for Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti. That's Glenn McGee, who for the 8th time will start on a pole in the AM class. And farther back again in a 26th position, the LB Cup pole sitter for One Motorsports is Nick Grote in car number 57, who takes over that pole position as a result of the fact that Mark Drummond cannot start today's race.
39 Lamborghinis on the racetrack right now, 4 different classes, and we're about to get things going. One of the things that Todd Snyder, who is the race director, really talks to these drivers about, you know, a lot of people talk about it's like herding cats. Well, this is literally like herding bulls, right? They call Lamborghinis raging bulls. All these drivers, you really know who you're racing with. And I look at the front row right now, Jeremy, and you've got Ryan Norman on pole, as you talked about, sits third in the championship. They closed in on second place a little bit yesterday, but they dropped some to the new championship leaders. Alongside Ryan Norman, you said it was Joel Miller on the pole in Pro-Am. So you're side by side with a car that doesn't really matter. In fact, when you look at the grid right now, second, third, fourth, fifth are all Pro-Am cars. So what is Ryan Norman thinking? He wants to be out front, but how hard do you race with cars that really aren't there to take points away from you?
Yeah, very good point. And Joel Miller, on the other hand, has 3 more Pro-Am cars behind him. The championship leaders now, winners yesterday, start way back in 9th position. That's Ernie Francis Jr., who just didn't get a clear lap in qualifying with all those cars on the racetrack getting ready for the green flag.
Looking for the start. You must remain in column formation until you get to the control line where the green flag waves. Ryan Norman on pole, the bright red number 1 from Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti. He's in the start zone, sees the green flag. We are racing at Coda up the hill into turn 1, 5 wide as they head towards the apex.
Joel Miller tries to go around the outside there at the first corner. That's not going to work. I think Ryan Norman able to hold on to that lead position. Yes, indeed, he was. And I think that's Elias De La Torre making a good start there to make up several positions in car number 29 at the start. He started in 8th.
Already car spinning. That is the 21. Shihan Chandrasoma and Nico Rieger. Yeah. Rieger behind the wheel right now. Problems early. Oh, almost a dozen penalties handed out in the race yesterday, Jeremy. So I know race control very busy, and Todd Snyder talks a lot about the first lap, and we're seeing it right here. Just a little too much, a little too soon, and around Nico Rieger goes. Don't know if he did that on his own or he had some help.
Yeah, likely had some help, I think. And Nico, he's from Houston, Texas. He's driving alongside Xian Chandrasoma, who's a hometown boy here in Austin, that car number 21, representing the Austin Lamborghini dealership in this race. All of the cars represent a dealership from around the country, which is another championship battle on its own. Nico, however, started in 4th position today, so really looking for a good, strong run again for himself and Xian Chandrasoma, as a former AM champion. And but unfortunately, it's come to grief on the first lap.
Yeah, kind of all goes away all too soon. And you talk about it all the time. You can't win a race on the first lap, but you can certainly lose one. And we're seeing problems early and problems again, this time in turn 12. See what happens here, way up the inside. This is never going to happen. I can't quite see the car number there, but that pass attempt came from another zip code, and that is the stuff that frustrates not only the race director, but the driver, who gets torpedoed by someone completely out of control.
Yeah, absolutely right. That's really unfortunate. Somebody just on the first lap just leaving their braking way too late. We saw several instances like that yesterday. Here's a challenge for 2nd position with Joel Miller coming under attack there from the
Nick Persing.
The car of Nick Persing, who yesterday won the Pro-Am class, and that is a battle for the 2nd position overall as Ryan Norman makes his escape in car number 1. It's also the battle for the Pro-Am lead and championship lead here this morning.
Ryan Norman seeing exactly what he wants to see, and that is Miller and Persing and Patrick Liddy all wrapped up in a fight. The 4th car in that order is actually Loris Cabarrou, the next of the Pro Class cars. Full course caution, I believe, for the incident in turn 12. Probably debris and perhaps a stranded race car there. The start is also under review. It was the 50 and the 41 down in turn 12, and it was 41 with the dive bomb move that created the problems, and that's going to bring out the first full course caution.
Yeah, and that's the former powerboat racer Paul Nemshoff, I think, who was driving that number 41 car. He'd qualified quite a long way down the field in 25th position, and yeah, that's just a really unfortunate way to start this race. Due to share that car with Mark Miller, who is super fast, yeah, for Paul Nemshoff, yeah, he's still relatively new to car racing. Had a lot of success in offshore powerboats over the years, as did his father. But yeah, let's have a look at a replay at the start. A nice clean start initially, but back to, you can't break column formation until the control line, and you could see cars 4 wide back in the field before they ever got to the start line. And Nemshoff may have been one of those, and there's Nico Rieger's problem. So excitement early on, and again, you know, you look at that incident with Nemshoff, and here it is again. And here's the thing, Jeremy, you get down on the dirty part of the racetrack, these cars have anti-lock brakes. However, you can't defeat the laws of physics. If you get in there too deep, it doesn't matter whether you have anti-lock brakes or an anchor. It's going to take a certain amount of time to slow the car down. I believe that Nemshoff probably gets down in there, gets into the ABS, and at that point in time, he's just a passenger. Could he have turned back to the right a little bit and perhaps missed the car in front? Maybe, but those are big decisions to be made in the blink of an eye. And again, for these drivers who are not making their living doing this, they're learning their trade while they're out on the racetrack. And of course, sometimes as you learn your trade, you make mistakes. We saw one there. Well, that's exactly right, and I'm not sure he could have turned right, because I think there's somebody else right alongside him. As competitive as this field is, there's traffic around all the time. But really unfortunate for Paul. He'll be crestfallen by that. He knows that well, I'm assuming there wasn't an anti-lock brake problem on that car, It certainly looked like he just carried a bit too much speed. He's on the dirty line on the inside of the racetrack rather than on the racing line where there's more anchored rubber laid down and there's more grip. And I think he just wasn't able to slow that car down. So he'll be, like I say, he's a sportsman. So he's nothing he did on purpose, obviously, just a slight miscue that ended up with big consequences.
I think this racetrack tempts you to do things like we just saw Paul Nimshoff do, and that is it's very wide into the entry of some of the slowest corners on the racetrack. Turn 1, turn 11, turn 12, and turn 15, and those are all corners where you're the following car, and all of a sudden you see this massive expanse of real estate to the inside, and you think, well, I can certainly fit a car there, right? The problem is the cars in front of you are slowing down to be on that tighter radius to get down into the middle of the corner. They've already started their run in. You find yourself like Paul did on the dirty side of the racetrack. And even when the ABS kicks in, it's just too little too late. The car's not going to slow down in time, and the other driver has no idea that you're coming.
Yeah, that's absolutely a fair comment there, and it's just one of those, I mean, accidents happen and mistakes happen, and it's just part of racing, unfortunately. Just looking down the order here, just looking to see if there are any major movers in the first. Well, we had one green flag of race, one lap of green flag racing, unfortunately. And the championship leader, Ernie Francis, he's still mired back in 8th position in kind of 88. That's the car that won yesterday. Brilliant run by Ernie. And the main reason he started so far back on the field, the car is faster than he showed yesterday in qualifying. The qualifying sessions, there's 2 sessions back-to-back, which took place yesterday morning. Each of them 15 minutes. The first 15 minutes determines the starting order for race 1. The second 15 minutes determines the starting order for race 2. So whichever driver is due to start each race takes part in that qualifying session. The problem, however, for TR3 Racing, which is the team that Ernie Francis drives for, is that the positions on the pit lane physically for each of the teams before every session are determined by championship points. There is a team championship, and TR3 Racing has generally they only have a couple of cars in the race, whereas there's quite a few other multi-car teams. Forte Racing, for example, has a record 7 cars here this weekend, and so they have to start from the pit lane a long way back down the order. So when they get on a racetrack, there's all sorts of traffic ahead of them. And with only 15 minutes, that was the problem yesterday for Ernie Francis. He never really got a clear lap, so he started way back in 8th position. He's made up one position in the early laps. And as the championship leader, I heard from him this morning, and he was telling me, as a championship leader, he's just got to approach this race with a clear mind, knowing that it's difficult to overtake in these cars, so don't take any chances. Preserve that championship lead. And it's kind of to allude to what you were talking about earlier on, Brian, Till, the fact that you pick your battles out there, know who you're racing with, and don't get yourself mixed up with cars from other classes. So that's what he's done in the early stages. He will be hoping that the race now settles down and that he can make up maybe a position or 2 before handing over that car to Gianno Torino for the final stages of this race.
Good points, Jeremy. And we talk about championships. You were just mentioning Ernie Francis. Gianno Torino took over the lead in the pro category yesterday with their race win. Kiko Porto, Nico Jamin fell back to second. The important thing, Francis and Torino now have a 9-point lead, so that's pretty healthy with the poor finish for Porto and Jamin. Danny Vermael, Ryan Norman, they stay in third, but they've closed in on second place. The big changes, talk about having bad days. Look at the Pro-Am Championship, Jeremy. Our leaders, Andy Lee, Slade Stewart, had an awful day. Slade Stewart made contact with the wall in turn 3, 0 points on the day. Second place in the championship in Pro-Am. Jerome Bleekemolen and Tim Pappas. Pappas had a problem in turn 3 as well. 0 points on the day. The new championship leader, AJ Muss, Joel Miller, they were third coming into the weekend. Now they're in the championship lead. Man, that championship got all mixed up. Nate Stacey, Nick Persing, they took the win yesterday, and they catapult from 4th to 2nd in the championship. So, yeah, if you have a bad day, especially in a class that has a lot of cars, you're going to get hurt in the championship run because the points dwindle massively as you fall down the order. And once you get outside the top 10, it's 0 points.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The good news is we've still got, after today, there's still 4 more races to go this season. You get 15 points for a race win. There's also 1 point available to the pole sitter in each class at every round. In Pro-Am, coming into this race, the top 5 cars were covered by just 14 points, so less than 1 win. Nico Riga and Gian Trofeo, they came into this race 5th in the points. Nico, unfortunately, got a spin on the first lap, but the good news is he's still in this race. He's at the very back of the field in that car number 21, that gold Lamborghini of Austin entry, but he is still at least in the race rather than the problems the 2 guys had yesterday. So he will make his way through some of the LB Cup guys once we get back to green flag racing, and then trying to pick off some of the other contenders as well in the AM class.
On the way back to green flag racing, lights out on the Lamborghini Huracan safety car. Should go green this time by. Hey, welcome a new dealership to Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America, a new dealership in general. That's Lamborghini of San Antonio, a big grand opening the other day. Great to see more involvement, and this is such a great class, such a great category. I remember not too many years ago, Jeremy, when this was just one of those categories that you kind of looked at with, hey, those are some neat cars, but it has grown so much, and the championships here now carry such a big importance with them. It's why you see the influx of young talent like we see up front. Ryan Norman hammered down, accelerating to turn 1. Joel Miller, Nick Persing, Patrick Liddy still in lockstep behind him. And Norman with that inside move, kind of that early turn in towards the apex of 1, it cost him on a restart yesterday, Jeremy.
Indeed it did, and once again, fingers crossed, not all through the first corner yet, but a nice clean restart there. And to your point, there's a half a dozen teenagers in this race. That never used to be the case in Lamborghini Super Trofeo, but now the youngsters see this as an opportunity to get on the sports car ladder, which is strong around the world, and trying to make a name for themselves. There's a whole bunch of them in this field.
And some great opportunities as well. Lamborghini has their Lamborghini Super Trofeo Junior Driver Program. Currently, there are 4 drivers in the field that are a part of that. Luke Berkeley, Gian Chandrasoma, Bryson Morris, Jake Walker, and then you move up from that, Lamborghini young professional drivers. There are only 4 of them in the world, Danny Formal being one of them. He shares that number 1 with Ryan Norman. So there is opportunity here, and that opportunity has attracted drivers to this category. Young drivers looking to become professionals, and more experienced, let's say, in age drivers that are just looking to have fun. These Lamborghinis are wicked fast, 600 plus horsepower. And in fact, Jeremy, straight line speed, these Lamborghinis faster than somebody at the WEC GT3 cars here this weekend.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They have a larger engine air restrictor on these cars than do the
contact
GT3.
There, the 98 comes across.
So sure he didn't get a help from behind there. Yeah, I think 98 did. Yeah, that was Sam Shea. I think he might have got a bit of a help from behind there. Not quite sure. That pink car in the middle, that's Slade Stewart for Flying Lizard Motorsports. He's carrying the colours of a Newport Beach dealership, and he's a former LB Cup champion who's moved up to the AM class this year, into the Pro-Am class, excuse me, this year, sharing with Andy Lee. And they had a problem yesterday, but still running 3rd in the Pro-Am points table in car number 14.
I think the 98 of Sam Shea involved in that, as was the 24 David Cardenas. Cardenas back underway. I'm not sure he has the speed that he wanted. Is Slade Stewart trying to make up for that mistake that he made yesterday? We saw several different drivers, 3 of them, I believe, well, actually 4. Ryan Norman did the same thing, but didn't make contact with the wall. Coming up down here, this super fast left-hand bend, turn 3, right here. Drivers getting up on that apex bump, the rumble strips there. Car getting very upset and losing control. Pappas, Stewart, and who was the other one there, Jeremy, that had the big incident in turn 3 yesterday?
Yeah, there was a whole bunch of them had incidents yesterday. Ray Shahi, I think, was off the road there as well, wasn't he? That was a big shot for him. Unfortunately, Ray not able to start today's race for Forte Racing. As a result of that accident, quite a lot of damage to that car. But yeah, it's a tricky part of the racetrack. It's very easy to make a mistake. And again, consequences there can be huge. There's a lot of runoff area in certain parts of this Circuit Americas racetrack, but not everywhere.
Closing in on the opening of the pit window. Right now, Ryan Norman leads in Pro, Joel Miller in Pro-Am. Kleck in the Am category, and back in LB Cup, your championship leader, Nick Grote, leads there.
He does indeed, and battles all the way through this field. Nick Grote, he was battling with Brady Golan. There was another youngster, just 16 years of age, making his debut in the championship this weekend for Forte Racing in the number 71 car. He's running in the Pro-Am class alongside Cameron Shields, who's from Australia, another youngster. And they are representing the colours of Dallas dealership. As you see, is that a drive-through penalty for Joel Miller?
Pit window is open, Jeremy.
Oh, is it? Oh, yikes. Oh, well, it wouldn't be Joel Miller, wouldn't be coming in this early, that's for sure.
So the pit window is open, and I'm looking on the race control channel. I see no penalties so far listed, so we'll keep an eye on that. Perhaps he's coming in to make that pit stop. If so, they're doing it on the early side.
Yeah, they are. I'm surprised that Joel Miller will be handing over that car to AJ Muss so soon, because I guess they just, if there is another full course caution, they've made their pit stop, so they will be toward the front of the field, because if a caution comes out, the pits are closed and you cannot make that mandatory pit stop. So I'm sure that is a strategy there for 47 Motorsports, and AJ Muss will take over that number 66 car from Joel Miller. He's a former Olympic snowboarder, for goodness sake, who's turned his hand to motor racing from Southern California and just getting better and better with every outing.
So Patrick Liddy takes over the second spot as Miller comes to pit lane. This is where it gets interesting, Jeremy. We saw a couple of drivers get burned yesterday by that yellow coming out in the pit window and not having an opportunity to get in. So perhaps that's what the 66 team is doing, like you said. So you're really going to play that strategy. You see the cars sitting still on pit lane. Typically no tire changes unless you have some type of a problem with a tire. You can adjust tire pressures. There is no fueling that goes on. And these longer pit stops are there simply to make sure that you can get the driver change done in a timely fashion without having to rush too terribly much. Without the fueling going in, without tires being put on, you need less crew members, you need less equipment, and that certainly helped from a budget standpoint.
That's exactly right. And the other major contender that made a pit stop on that last lap was Caliber 88. That's the championship leader in the Pro class. Ernie Francis Jr. in to hand over that TR3 number 88, representing the Miami dealership, to hand over to John Torino, who'll take it to the checkered flag.
Ryan Norman just came to pit road as well. He'll be handing that car over to Danny Formal. We talked about Formal being one of the Lamborghini young professional drivers. Formal, two-time champion the last 2 seasons in a row. He has won the Pro Class Championship with Kyle Marcelli. Marcelli moves on. Formal stays here. If he wins it again, I'm sure Lamborghini is going to say congratulations, but we have no more room for you in Lamborghini Super Trofeo. You need to move on to the next category. So right now, things are going to shuffle through on these pit stops. Nick Persing having a good run aboard the number 8 right now from Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti. He and Nate Stacy have had an up and down season, Jeremy, sitting second in the championship yet right now with their win and pole from yesterday. But man, you look back, Sebring, the second race, only 3 points, 0 points the first race at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, and then another 3 points at Watkins Glen. They've had 3 bad ones, but they've had 4 races where they've been on the podium, including 3 race wins. So that just shows you can't afford to be out of the top 5. They're second in the championship right now, but they've got a long road to hoe. They want to get to the lead.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I was just looking here at number 21. That's the car that spun on the very first lap. Nico Riga It's kind of not a dissimilar livery. Number 29, at least, which is sort of lime green. 29 is Elias De La Torre. He's running in the 4th position right now, but number 21 car has spun off for the first lap. Nico Riga, his last lap time was actually faster, well, almost as fractionally slower than our race leader. So returning a really, really good lap is Nico Riga. He's up into the 16th position now in car number 21 as the current race leader, Patrick Liddy, brings the number 72 car for Forte Racing onto pit lane to hand over to Blake McDonald, his AM co-driver.
It's going to put Nick Persing in the lead, and this is that time, Jeremy. We talked about it yesterday. Every weekend it's this way. As you see your competitors fall off, it leaves you empty racetrack in front of you. And that's when the pressure is on. Qualifying laps, you've got to go as fast as you possibly can. See if you can extend the gap that you had, or perhaps close the gap on the car that was in front of you. If they were 2 seconds in front of you, if you can turn in a couple of good laps and then do the exact same pit stop time, well, you'll be a little bit closer. With the traffic out of the way, this is your opportunity to get it done. I'll tell you what else we saw yesterday, Jeremy. Outlaps were critical. We saw mistakes on outlaps that took leaders out of the event. Look at this.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, that's certainly something that the incoming driver has to pay attention to, Brian.
Look at this. Down the back straightaway into turn 12, side by side. There was a little side drafting going on down the back straightaway there between those two competitors. You'll find a battle everywhere around this racetrack. You just look, and there's going to be 2 Lamborghinis going at it. The 98 right there involved in that little bit of a skirmish. That's Sam Sheen. We talked about him a little bit earlier, involved in some argy-bargy, let's say, but none the worse for wear. Persing still out front, then McDonald. This is going to cycle through as pit stops continue, and we've got about 3 minutes left in the pit stop window, and then it will close. So you look at a lap time around this racetrack, it's just over 2 minutes. You either need to be really close to being on the front straightaway right now if you're going to do another lap, or you need to think about hitting pit lane if you haven't done it. If you don't get it done and the pit window closes, it's going to be a painful penalty that's going to put you back well in the order where you would have been had you made the pit stop. It's actually going to come with more time than that. It's going to put you way out. Speaking of way out of bounds right there. That was the number 4, I believe, Jeremy. We saw problems for Porto and Jamin yesterday. Jamin behind the wheel right now, off the track.
Yeah, he was running, effectively running in 5th after the round of pit stops in car before. He was dicing there with Scott Huffaker in car number 22. After the pit stops, it's still number 1 car that leads. So once everybody else comes into the pits, that number 1 car, here he is, Danny Formal out in front as Nico Riga brings that number 21 car for the Austin dealership onto pit lane to hand over to the local driver, Shian Chandrasoma.
That beautiful gold number 21 has become a familiar scene. A little lock up there off the front of the 99. You don't see that a lot because of the ABS systems that are on these cars. That's Rocky Bodlock. Problem there, and that was into 12. It was off the right front, Jeremy, and you saw Bulldog just, the car gets a little upset. That right front kind of locks up a little bit, takes him by surprise, does a good job of getting it gathered up, but he's got to file that away and say, what was that? And the next time I come down into one of these heavy braking zones, I need to be aware of that. He's got to file that away and know that he's got something on his car that's not quite right, and pushing it to the limit, especially with a late braking attempt, may create an issue for him in the future.
Yeah, he's got to be careful with that. And Rocky Baldock, he's originally from Canada, makes his home now in Vermont. This is just his 2nd race weekend in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo. He's done a couple of club races in SCCA to build a little bit of experience to enable him to get an IMSA license. But other than that, that's it. And he finished 2nd yesterday in the LB Cup class, did Rocky Baldock, in that kind of a 99. He also set the fastest lap of the race in LB Cup. So it's a great second race weekend for Rocky so far. Let's see if he can keep it going. Meanwhile, Danny Formal is out in the front now, pulling away from Bryson Morris who is in second position in car number 30 for Ansa Motorsports. So it's a Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti, car number 1, that leads.
Certainly have seen some incidents today, but nothing like we saw yesterday, knock on wood. We still have over 20 minutes to go. Pit window closing, just 23 seconds left in that pit window to get it done. So if you've not been to pit lane, you better be in turn 18 or 19 and get there in time. And now the order will begin to cycle back through as they cross the line. We'll get a better idea of where all the players stack up. Oh, take a look at this.
Oops. That's Rob Walker under pressure there from number 42. That's Kevin Madsen driving for MLT Motorsports. That's a battle for 23rd, 24th position overall. But yeah, around about the top half dozen in the AM category. There's a quick glance there of the Luke Berkeley in the MLT Motorsports car number 64 making his pit stop. He was a leader as the field completed its 11th lap with just under now 20 minutes remaining. So that pit window closed, it has now closed, and everybody, I think, has now made their mandatory pit stops.
Some warnings now coming in from race control about track limits, and interesting, also saw a penalty for the 98 incident responsibility with the 86. That'll be a drive-through penalty for the 98. Track limits calls, though, warnings for both the 30 and the 77. Shortcut in turn 14 for the 77, and track limits at the exit of turn 19 for the 30. And just saw the leader, I shouldn't say this on the broadcast, Danny Vermael coming out of turn 20 over the curbing a little bit too. And what we mean by track limits is you've got to keep at least one tire on that red and white curbing, both at the entry, the middle, and the exit of the corner. If you get behind the curbs, the officials are going to see that. They're going to warn you if they think that you've gained an advantage by doing it, either pulling away from the car behind you or closing in on the car in front of you by running out of bounds. They have the right to penalize you, and it can be anything from a few seconds post-race as the 54 with a problem. I believe that's the 54. That's a spin out of turn 20.
Yeah, good news is he's kept it going again, able to continue.
No, it's the 94, I'm sorry.
94, okay. Yeah, that's one of the LB Cup contenders, Stephen Sorbaro. And well done to Stephen. He's another relative newcomer, just his second weekend in that number 94 car for Ansa Motorsports, carrying the colors of the Broward Lamborghini dealership.
We were talking about track limits, just to finish that up, Jeremy. It's basically the sidelines of the football field. You don't get to run wherever you want. Everybody has to play on the same playing field, so it's just that simple. And you'll hear drivers from time to time go, well, big deal, what does it matter? Well, it does matter. You got to play on the same playing field that everybody else. It matters when the receiver steps out of bounds, but runs it into the end zone down at the other end of the field. And so it matters here. You got to keep it between the lines.
You're absolutely right, and boy, I tell you what, hats off to those three there. Three abreast going down into turn 12 in that lap, and they all made it through nice and cleanly. Good driving amongst that little group of cars there.
Good, respectful driving,
number 46?
that's for sure.
Yeah, I think that was number 46 car there who made a couple of passes. John Capestri Dubets in the Pro-Am class.
Now the 64 is around. A problem there. That's out of turn 19, I believe. And that's the thing. A lot of times, that's Luke Berkeley and Garrett Adams aboard the 64 sharing that car. A lot of times you come out of 19, you try to stay on the racetrack because you don't want that track limits call, and you tighten your hands a little bit, ease off the throttle, and that moves the weight to the front end of the car. With that deceleration, the car goes around. So perhaps that's what we saw there at the exit of turn 19. All right, after pit stops, it cycled through. Danny Vermael up front in the number 1 out of Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti. Nate Stacey leading in Pro-Am. In the Am, Anthony McIntosh aboard the 69, and back in LB Cup, Nick Grote continues to lead there. And I'm looking at this Pro-Am championship right now, and if Nate Stacey and Nick Persing can take another victory, Jeremy, they're going to close down. I said earlier, they still have a long way to go. We have a long way to go in the season. They don't have a long way to go in the championship. They're only 2 points behind A.J. Muss and Joel Miller for the lead. So you look back, and Muss now sitting third. That would be a gain of 5 points for Nate Stacey and Nick Persing, and a problem for the 47. Some good evasive action there by the 12.
Yes, Dominic Starkweather, he is the leader in the AM class, is Dominic Starkweather, kind of a 47 for Precision Performance Motorsports. He was running in a 19th position overall, 5th in AM. That's going to be costly for his championship aspirations, because Glenn McGee and Anthony McIntosh, they are leading this race, have done from the start. Anthony McIntosh driving now 10th position overall in that car of 69. But Dominic Starkweather, again, lost the championship points. Here's a battle for second position. Bryson Morris has it right now in the black car heading up the hill into turn 1. Right behind him is that TR3 Racing entry of Giano Torino. That is the car that was the first car to duck onto pit lane after 7 laps and just after the 20-minute beginning of that 20-minute window. And boy, was that a smart decision by TR3 Racing, because Giano Torino, having taken over from Ernie Francis Jr., got some nice clean track for a few laps, able to turn some good fast laps and leapfrog a whole bunch of other cars. He came into the pits in the 8th position and is now running 3rd in car number 88.
Well, I'll tell you, the other thing is championship implications there for Danny Vermael, Ryan Norman, everybody at Wayne Taylor Racing. They are cheering on Bryson Morris right now. They want that 30 in second place. They want him in front of the 88, because that would allow Vermael and Norman to close down a little bit more on Ernie Francis and Giano Torino. If it were to finish like this, Vermael, Ryan Norman would gain 5 points on Torino and Ernie Francis, and that would be big in the championship. It would narrow that championship lead. So every car out there matters, especially when it's someone who's not in it really for the championship right now, like the 30 is. Vermael, that entire team wants to see that 30 in second place.
Yeah, they do, and there's another battle there. In the thick of that was Tim Pappas, the car number 54, who's dicing for position here. That is the car that was right up in contention it was actually leading the points, I think, wasn't it, coming into the weekend? I forget now. But he had a problem yesterday, did Tim Pappas, running a good race now, and taking over from Jerome Blekemolen and running in 12th place.
Good battles all around the racetrack like we talked about. Yes, indeed, you can run side by side. The 34, the 24, doing that right there. That's Velez in the 34, Cardenas in the 24. So good, respectful racing. You see it all around this racetrack. And then, man, a little late breaking there. Remember the problem that we were talking about on the 99.
Yeah, that's the battle for the lead in LB Cup. Nick Grote has it in car number 57, and Ricky Baldock wants it. He had that podium finish yesterday, and he wants to win. He got a little bit too close there. I think they were both able to continue, so heads-up driving from Nick Grote to hang on to that 57 car after a bit of a nerf from behind.
Somebody around in turn 12. What happens here? Late move by the, is that the 34? Couldn't quite see the number.
I think. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it might have been, and that was a battle. That was a 3-car battle for the lead. It
was the 24,
in LB
Jeremy.
Cup. It was 24. Yeah, David Cardenas. Okay, yeah, he's right in the thick of it as well. But it was Nick Grote who went around there after that contact, so loses the lead in LB Cup, and that hands it to Rocky Baldock. And right behind Rocky, I think, is
more problems. Believe that was the 64 around there. Action starting to pick up around this racetrack, and right now, Jeremy, Garrett Adams, I believe, on the 64 just loses it on his own. These Hankook tires are running out of life, right? They've already been out there for a session. Temperatures heating up on the racetrack. Track temperature now up to 90 degrees. It has risen significantly since the beginning of this race. Grip is going away. The car's not nearly as good as it was in the beginning, and you're just not going to be able to drive the same laps. Now, interesting. Oh, more problems.
Oh, that's
There's
Torino.
Yeah.
That's the championship leader.
Wow. Where is this going to drop the 88? How far down the order is he going to fall? Down to 4th right now. Let's see as he comes by. And again, this is great news for Danny Vermael. He's out there right now. His crew is telling him, you just keep hammer down. He and Ryan Norman, and more problems. What is going on the racetrack? 94, the 33 around. Clay Wilson aboard the 33. And Subaru on the 94. He had problems early on.
That's another.
Oh.
Oops, dear me. That was
well,
was
that's
not
what's
close.
going on.
That was Steven Subaru there, trying to make a move that was never on, and nails at number 33 car of Clay Wilson, who's making his debut this weekend for TR3 Racing. Had a good run yesterday. His first race, period. I think he's done some boat racing in the past, I believe. In Florida. He's from Florida. He was actually planning, he did the Corsa Pilotti, for Lamborghini Corsa Pilotti at Las Vegas, which is a kind of a dream racing experience to drive these supercars at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Did that back in 2019, loved it, decided to come into the championship, but then COVID hit. So he withdrew on that plan, but he did order a car, and it was delivered earlier this year, and he's making his debut in this championship this weekend. Is Clay Wilson. Had a 5th place finish yesterday. Very good run for him. Unfortunately, got taken out by somebody else.
Problems for the number 10 has stopped drivers left. Not exactly sure where that is on the racetrack right now, but well, this will be interesting. The last thing in the world that your leader wants to see is a full course caution. Are we going to get one? Graham Doyle, Ashton Harrison sharing that number 10. It is parked to the side of the racetrack. We'll see what they do with that. Incidents between the 94 and 33 are under review, as are the 99 and 57. Probably won't take much review to get some of those findings done.
Man, this is look, it's what we expected, but generally speaking, this has been an exciting motor race, no doubt about it. There's been a couple of mistakes, but look, when you're right on the edge with these cars, it's easy to make mistakes. There's no two ways about that. So it's been a great race. We haven't seen much of our race leader, Danny Formal. That's because he's just disappeared at the front of the field. 3 laps ago, he set new fastest lap of the race, a 2 minute 6.6. which is faster than last year's lap record here, the race lap record. And it was, I think, faster than the best time yesterday. So a new lap record there for Danny Formal, and way out in the lead of this race.
Well, let's think about this, Jeremy. Right now, Danny Formal, Ryan Norman holding down the point. They'll take 15 points if they win today. I'm not going to give it to them yet, even with the lead that they have. They would get 15 points, and then you go back to Gianno Torino aboard the number 88. He and Ernie Francis took over the championship yesterday by 9 points over Kiko Porto and Nico Jamin. Where is the 4 car? Well, he's behind them. Look at how this championship complexion is going to change again. Francis and Torino at this point in time would still hold the lead, I believe, but only by 2 points if I'm doing my math correctly.
Yeah, it is tight out there. I mean, it really is. And with that quick spin a few laps ago, Gianno Torino is back now into the 5th position. He's caught right up to Nate Stacey. That is a battle for position on the racetrack. Nate Stacey leading Pro-Am in car number 8 for Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti. But it's not a battle for points for Gianno Torino. So he's running 4th in Pro-Am at the moment.
And this is where you really need to know who you're racing with as we watch the 17 and the 77. Class cars that are, well, they're in different classes right now, right? So you need to know that, and you saw them come through turn 12, and you saw the 17 outside of track limits a little bit, and you think, well, why are the officials going to let him get away with that? And I think he just took a little wider path around the outside, Jeremy, and just said, I don't want to get mixed up with that car. We're not fighting for position right now. We're running together on the racetrack, but let's not take too many chances. And I think he just gave himself a little wider berth there, and I think the officials are going to look at that, especially with some of the action that we've seen in these last few laps, and say, thank you very much, we have no problem with that.
Yeah, quite. And one of the guys who was dicing with there is number 17 car. That's Al Morey for Top Racing. making his debut with top racing this weekend is Al Moore, a youngster from Indianapolis. He's running second in the AM class. Meanwhile, there is that number 88 car of Gianlo Torino. He's still behind the Pro-Am leader, running in 5th position over the battle. That is the battle for 4th and 5th. And that mistake for Torino's cost him a couple of pro positions.
Yeah, and interesting, I'm sure Nate Stacey is going to be thinking, hey, I don't need to fight with Gianlo Torino right now. He can go on by. I don't really care. So again, thinking about the championship, Nate Stacey, very experienced driver, smart guy, and I know that entire team is going to be working with him saying, hey, let's think about this. There's not probably a better group out there. When you think about the breadth of experience that Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti has, a lot of experience on the pit box there. They know what they've got, they know what they need, and they're going to be communicating with their driver. Looking at the 4, Nico Jamin trying to work his way forward.
Indeed, he's dicey there with the Scott Huffaker number 22 car that holds that 6th position overall at the moment, 5th in pro, but Nico Jamin, who has been leading this championship from the beginning. He's from Brazil, from Recife in Brazil. He's a former open wheel champion in the USF 2000 series, and making his move into sports cars this year for the first time.
And big run, the crossover coming all out of turn 20, really good run by Jamin. Very smart move. You saw Huffaker move left and try to block the entry into 20. And Jamin said, thank you very much. I'll do the over-under. Let's see if he can make it work. Makes it stick up into turn 1. Huffaker has to give it up. Tries the over-under himself. Nothing doing there. And you look back at it and you think, if you're Scott Huffaker, you may have given that to Jamin into turn 20, because then you could have done what Jamin did to you. So really, it's a game of chess, and these two drivers have a lot of experience. They've moved those pieces on the board many times before in different championships, literally around the world. That time, Nico Jamin getting the best of Scott Huffaker. Oh,
yeah, oopsies.
See the replay there. These cars do have traction control, Jeremy. You can turn it up or down. And again, at this stage of the race, I think you're going to be wanting to run a little higher level of traction control. Your grip is going away. The track is probably getting a little bit greasy. It's one of those things, you want that help. When you go to the throttle and you ask for 600 plus horsepower, you're going to get it relatively quickly. And if you don't have that traction control helping you, a lot of times it can overpower that Hankook tire, especially in these low grip situations.
Yeah, that's the battle for position here. Yeah, great battle there between some AM contenders, excuse me, Pro-Am contenders.
Yeah.
That is number 21 car, Shian Chandrasoma, right behind Tim Pappas, and now making a dive to the inside. He's left his braking too late. He's going to lose that position again. And taking advantage of both of them is JCD, John Capestro Dubets in caliber 46. And can probably get past both of them right there.
Well, that's that classic wide entry into turn 11 that I talked about earlier, and you saw Shihan Chandrasoma say, I'm gonna go. Well, he did, but never got the car slowed down enough to make the corner. And he went wide. That allowed Jean Capestro Dubets through. Chandrasoma back to 3rd in this battle. And for JCD, that's a mistake you don't see him make very often. And I go back to this racetrack beginning to get a little bit slick, and these tires being worn now after nearly 50 minutes of competition. That high load, long duration corner, he gets into the throttle and the rear just starts around. He cannot get it arrested. And you don't see John Capestro Dubets spin very often at all, but he was around that time for sure.
Yeah, it was, and there was no contact there from behind. He just got on a bit too much loud pedal, a bit too much right foot there. Too many horses trying to get onto that pavement and around bulls and around that car goes. So it's disappointing for JCD, but look. It'll be just over a minute remaining. So where are the leaders on the racetrack? I think I don't think this is a white flag lap. I think it'll be a white flag next time around as Danny Formal extends that championship lead, and Shian Chandrasoma now up into, I think he's still 8th in the class, trying to get past Tim Pappas for 7th. Well,
the officials
that was
are
a
going to look
shortcut.
at that. Yeah, the officials look at that. I think Chandra Soma knows it, Jeremy.
Yes, and he gave that position back again. Heads up driving from Chandra Soma there in Caliber 21. Made the pass, but from an illegal position. And it's a great battle between these two. Round the outside he goes. What a fabulous move from Chandra Soma to take that position from the number 54 car of Tim Pappas. Puts him down to 8th position in the class. Wow. Meanwhile,
smart move to give that back. Meanwhile, onto the front straightaway, Preston Buckley with the white flag, waves it. Danny Formal, 20 corners to go. Formal, Ryan Norman looking for their second win of the season. More importantly, they're looking to close down in this championship. We'll leave Austin, we'll head to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the next rounds, the next 2 rounds, before heading to Spain for the finale. They have time, and they're doing what they need to do. An impressive weekend so far for the #1 squad.
It certainly has been. It's been an exemplary performance by them today. Started from the front, led pretty much the whole race, I think, other than the a couple of laps after making their pit stops before everybody else had come on to pit lane. But Danny Formal here, this is yesterday was his 50th start, he scored his 9th pole position. Today's 51st start. They're looking for win number 20 in his Lamborghini Super Trofeo career, which moves him within 1 of Richard Antonucci, who's won 21 races earlier in the life of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo, which started, of course, back in 2014.
I think Danny Formal may have a shot at that record. Wayne Taylor racing with Andretti, Lamborghini Palm Beach, very familiar dealership name on the side of that Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2, and this is going to be big in the championship. I will not give it to them until they cross the line, but if they can maintain this position, championship complexion is going to change yet again. It's what makes this series so interesting, whether it's in the pro category or LB Cup for the newest drivers. Down the hill into turn 20 one more time, finish line just around the corner, looking for the checkered flag. It waves. Danny Formal, Ryan Norman, they will take their second victory of the season, and that is big in their championship fight. Nate Stacey looking for the win. He wants to move up. He's got the checkered flag. Stacey, another Wayne Taylor racing with Andretti entry. He and Nick Persing big in the Pro-Am Championship, Jeremy.
Yeah, absolutely right. And things are tightening up all the way around. I think this will take the lead then for Nate Stacey and Nick Persing, with AJ Buss finishing in 3rd position along with Joel Miller. So with that win today, the 4th win on the season for Nick Persing and Nate Stacey in that number 8 car for Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti, and that'll move them into the championship lead in Pro-Am with 4 races to go on the season.
Anthony McIntosh brings his number 69 to victory lane. He and Glenn McGee, it'll be their 3rd win of the season, and hate to say it again, Jeremy, but big time championship implications there in the AM category. Great stuff. And looking through for your winner in LB Cup, Rocky Bolduc takes the victory there. That one was hard fought, a little argy-bargy. What are you thinking as we leave Texas, Jeremy Shaw?
Oh man, I think what a tremendous weekend of racing. There's a spin and a lot. We had action all the way through this race, but a tremendous performance out front there by our season champion from last couple of years, Danny Formal, and Ryan Norman, who started from the pole position. Brilliant run for them, and that will move them much closer in that battle for the championship in Pro.
We head to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, September 20th, 21st, 22nd. Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America action continues there with rounds 9 and 10, and the season wraps up with the World Championships in Spain. Great stuff from the great state of Texas. I'm Brian Till for Jeremy Shaw. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you down the road.